more than Tecy expected. Today was our anniversary, Greg. The smile fell from his face as the realization hit him. Amy looked between both of them, an awkward witness to the fallout. Tecy, I totally forgot. Oh, Greg, spare me the excuses. They are just flimsy and hollow. We just got caught up at work. And then Amy needed to talk about some stuff. And you forgot?
I see you, my heart they beats. A lady of all men's dreams. You be the one.
Hello guys, meet Tecy, a woman whose husband's favorite list always starts with his female best friend and ends with her. But before I dive into her story, please consider subscribing to the channel. Just like always, we bring real family drama to you and best possible solution. If you are looking on how to stay cordial with family related issues, you are welcome here. Now, let me take you back to where it all started. Tecy living with Greg had its ups and downs, but lately the downs seemed to outnumber the ups. He was the kind of guy everyone liked, charismatic, always the life of the party, and well, a little too friendly for comfort. It wasn't unusual for him to be surrounded by friends, but his close relationship with women, particularly Amy, started to get at Tecy. Greg, we need to talk about your friend Amy. What about her, Tecy? She's just a friend. You know that. It was a typical evening in their apartment. The TV was on, but neither of them was really watching. Tecy was trying to bridge the gap that had been widening between them. It's just you seem to spend a lot of time with her, more than you do with me lately. Greg sighed, a sound that seemed heavier each time she brings this subject. You are imagining things, Tecy. Amy and I just share a lot of interests, like game in movies, stuffs you are not into. That hit a nerve. I love movies, but it was true I wasn't much of a gamer. That's not the point. It feels like she is more your girlfriend than I am. Greg rolled his eyes, a gesture that made Tecy's heart sink. You need to be more secure, Tecy. This jealousy isn't good for either of us. Jealousy? Greg, it's about respect, about priorities. When was the last time we did something together? Just the two of us. Greg paused, clearly searching for an answer. The silence stretched too long. See? You can't even remember. It's always you and Amy, or you and the gang. Where do I fit into your life? We went to that dinner last month for your birthday, didn't we? Last month? As if trying to prove Tecy's point. Greg hadn't even planned that dinner. I did, exactly. Greg is always me planning, me trying, and you are just not there, not in the presence I need you to be. Greg got up abruptly, his patience one thing. I don't know what you want from me, Tecy, and I can't cut people out of my life because you are insecure. It's not about cutting people out, it's about letting me in. He didn't respond, just walked over to the kitchen, his back to Tecy. Tecy watched him, feeling the rift between them grow with every step. The next day was no better. Tecy tried to shake off the heavy conversations from the night before by suggesting a quick lunch together, something light, something normal. Greg, however, had other plans. I can't do lunch, Tecy. I promised Amy I will help her set up for the game night tonight. Game night? Another night with Amy. Another night where Tecy felt like a guest in her own relationship. Of course you did, Tecy muttered, more to herself than to him. What was that? Greg asked, his tone sharp. Nothing. Have fun at game night. As he left, a small part of Tecy wanted to follow to join in and maybe feel a part of his world again. But another stronger part of her knew it wouldn't change anything. She wasn't just battling for Greg's attention, she was fighting for her place in his life, a battle she was beginning to realize she might already be at lost. The morning of their anniversary dawned bright and clear, a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside her. As Tecy lay in bed, watching the sunlight creep across the sheets, she remembered her first anniversary. Greg had surprised her with breakfast in bed and a day full of life, adventures. The memory felt like a relic from another lifetime. The phone buzzed beside her, pulling her back to the present. She reached for it, half expecting, half hoping. It might be Greg with an anniversary surprise, a sign he remembered, but it was just a reminder of a meeting she had later in the week. She got up and went about her day, the weight of expectations growing heavier with each passing hour. By evening, there was still no word from Greg, no call, no text, nothing. That's when she knew for sure that he has forgotten. She tried to distract herself, flipping through old photos on her laptop, pictures of them smiling, laughing perfectly in sync. It felt surreal, those happy moments existing alongside the stark loneliness of the present. When Greg finally came home, it was late and he was not alone. Amy was with him, both of them laughing about some inside jokes as they entered. "Hey, Tecy, didn't hear you come in. Amy and I just grabbed some dinner after work. We brought something you might like." His casual tone, the ease with which he brushed off the significance of the day, it stung more than Tecy expected. "Today was our anniversary, Greg." The smile fell from his face as the realization hit him. Amy looked between both of them, an awkward witness to the fallout. "Tecy, I totally forgot." "Oh, Greg, spare me the excuses. They are just flimsy and hollow. We just got caught up at work. And then Amy needed to talk about some stuff. And I you forgot?" Tecy said, the hurt clear in her voice. "You forgot about us." Greg tried to apologize, his words tripping over each other, but it was too late. The damage was done. Amy mumbled something about needing to leave and quickly exited, leaving them in an uncomfortable silence. Why does it always have to be her, Greg? Why? She is always more important. I don't know what to say, Tecy. I am so sorry. Okay, I messed up, but sorry. Sorry isn't enough anymore. Not anymore. Tecy looked at him. She saw the distance that had grown between them. It wasn't just about forgetting a date. It was about forgetting them, what they were supposed to mean to each other. "I needed you today, Greg," Tecy said softly, the fight draining out of her. "I needed you to remember, to show me that I still mean something to you." Greg reached out his hand, brushing hers, but the connection felt fleeting. "You do mean something to me, Tecy. I just got carried away, that's all." Distracted, Tecy repeated, the word tasting bitter. "Seems like you are always distracted these days." As he stood there, struggling for the right thing to say, Tecy realized that apologies couldn't fix them anymore. She needed more than that. She needed his presence, his attention, something that seemed increasingly reserved for others. That night, as Tecy lay in bed alone, the full weight of their fractured relationship settled over her. The distance wasn't just physical, it had seeped into every part of their lives together, leaving her wondering if the man she loved was still there or if he drifted too far out of reach. Enough was enough. I couldn't live in this limbo, constantly questioning Greg's loyalty and my own sanity. It was time for clarity, no matter how painful the truth might be. Tecy reached out to Jenna, a friend who was more like a sister and the only person she knew who was tech savvy. Jenna, please. I need to know if Greg is really cheating on me. Can you help? Jenna didn't hesitate. Of course, Tecy, what do you need? Can we set up something to track him? I need to know what he's really up to. When he says he's out with friends, Jenna was quiet for a moment, then sighed. Yeah, we can set up a GPS tracker on his car and maybe some software on his phone to monitor his messages. But Tecy, are you sure you want to do this? Tecy was sure. The not knowing was worse than any potential heartbreak. They spent the next day setting everything up. Jenna showed her how to use the tracking software and handed her a spare phone where all the data would be sent. Just don't upset over this, okay? It's going to be tough to see. But Tecy was past caring about toughness. The next week was a blur of monitoring and waiting. Greg's phone buzzed with texts and calls. His car moved across the city at odd hours. Tecy watched and waited, the evidence mounting, her heart sinking. Then came the undeniable proof. Greg said he was going to a conference, an overnight trip. The tracker showed his car parked at a downtown hotel, not the conference center. The messages confirmed it. He wasn't alone. Amy was with him. Tecy felt like she was outside her own body, watching someone else's life implode. But it was hers, her life, her fiancé. Armed with the evidence, she confronted Greg. The moment he returned, he walked through the door, smiling, unaware of the storm waiting for him. Where were you last night, Greg? His smile faltered. At the conference, Tecy. Where else? Tecy threw the printout of the text and the GPS location on the table. Stop lying to me. He picked up the papers, his face draining of color. As he read it, this isn't what it looks like, Tecy. I can explain. Explain what? That you lied, that you were with Amy. What's there to explain, Greg? He tried to reach out for Tecy, but she stepped back. I trusted you, and you've been lying to me this whole time. The room was thick with tension, the air heavy with the weight of his betrayal. Greg's eyes were wide, searching for something, anything to say. But what could he say? The evidence was right there, in his shaking hands. I'm sorry, Tecy. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Sorry isn't enough, not anymore. I needed the truth, and now I have it. As Greg stood there, struggling with his guilt, he realized that this was the end. There was no going back from this. No more excuses he could make for himself. Tecy had sought the truth, and as brutal as it was, it had finally set her free from the doubts that had haunted her. Now, it was time to decide what come next. The air in the apartment felt charged. As she faced Greg, the evidence of his betrayal laid out between them, like the shattered pieces of their relationship. You have nothing to say for yourself. Tessy's voice was steady, filled by a mix of anger and clarity. Greg shuffled the papers again, as if rereading the text and GPS data would change anything. He finally looked up, his eyes meeting Tessy's, a flicker of remorse passing through them. Tecy, I messed up. I never wanted to hurt you. Hurt me? Greg, you betrayed me for months. This isn't a simple mistake. You made a choice repeatedly. I know, Tecy. It looks bad, but it wasn't like that with Amy. It just happened. It just happened? Tecy echoed incredulous. Do you hear yourself? Things like this don't just happen, Greg. You made it happen. Greg took a step closer, his expression one of desperation. Tecy, I love you. I was just confused. We can walk through this, can't we? I would do anything. It's too late to walk through this, Greg. I can't even trust you. How are we supposed to build a life on lies and excuses? But I can change, Tecy. I will end things with Amy. It will just be us. His promises sounded hollow, echoing through the room with the weight of all his previous unkept promises. You don't get it, do you? It's not just about Amy, it's about us, about how little you respect and value me. I can't marry someone who sees me as an option rather than a priority. Greg's face fell, the finality of her words settling in. So what are you saying? I am saying it's over. Greg, I'm cancelling the wedding. We are done. The words, once unthinkable, now felt like the only path to self-preservation. He staggered back, as if Tecy had struck him physically. Tecy, please, don't do this. We can fix this. But I had made up my mind. It's beyond fixing. I need to be with someone who knows my worth, who chooses me every day. And Greg, you are not that person. Turning away, Tecy felt a surge of empowerment. It was a heart-wrenching decision, but standing up for herself brought a strange peace amidst the turmoil. As she settled to gather her things, Greg stood in silence. The man Tecy had once envisioned as her future husband was now just someone she needed to move past. With every item she packed, the burden of her broken relationship lifted slightly. She was taking steps not just out of apartment, but out of the shadow of doubt and sadness that had loomed over her for too long. Tecy, Greg's voice cracked as he headed to the door, her suitcase in her hand. She paused, not turning back. Take care of yourself, Greg. I truly hope you find what you are looking for. And with that, Tecy walked out the door. Each step, a firm declaration of her newfound resolve. The future was uncertain and undoubtedly daunting, but for the first time in a long time, it was hers to shape. The door clicked shut behind her, the sound echoing like a definitive full stop to the chapter of her life that had been consumed by doubt and betrayal. Tecy stood outside the apartment for a moment, taking a deep breath of the crisp evening air. It was the breath of freedom, of choices, of new beginning. As she walked down the street, the weight of her suitcase was nothing compared to the weight that had been lifted from her shoulder. Yes, the future was uncertain, but it was also a canvas black and ready for new strokes. In the days that followed, she rediscovered parts of herself that had been buried under the compromise and sacrifice that came with trying to save a relationship that was doomed to fail. She reconnected with old friends, the ones she had drifted away from while she was lost in the maze of Greg's needs and justification. Tecy, we've missed you, Jamie exclaimed as they sat down for coffee, her eyes bright with the kind of genuine affection she hadn't realized she's been missing. I've missed myself too, she admitted to herself jokingly, but the truth of the words resonated deeply. Rediscovering her hobbies was like meeting old friends. She returned to painting, a passion she had set aside for lack of time, or perhaps because Greg had never really shown any interest in it. Now, her afternoons were filled with the smell of paint and the thrill of creating something beautiful from nothing. Each brushstroke was a healing gesture, each color a celebration of her independence. She also took up yoga, which brought not just physical strength, but mental clarity. Each pose, each breath helped her to center herself, to find peace in the present. After the turmoil of the past, as she rebuilt her life, the wounds began to heal, not just into scars of bitterness, but into lessons of strength. She learned that her worth wasn't tied to how much someone else valued her, but how much she valued herself. One evening, as she sat on her new balcony, a small space just big enough for a chair and a tiny table, she realized that the peace she felt was not just the absence of Greg's chaos, it was the presence of her own contentment, something she hadn't felt in a long time. Tecy had thrived, and as the sun set, casting a golden glow over her small perfect balcony, She knew that this was not just a new chapter, but a whole new book in the story of her life. The story of Tecy and Greg has come to an end, but it opens up a conversations that many of us might find personal. How do you think Tecy's decision to prioritize her self-worth impacts her future relationship? Is stepping away always the best choice when trust is broken? Share your thoughts and experience in the comment below. Don't forget to like this video if you found Tecy's journey impactful, and subscribe for more stories like this. Your support helps us bring more content that resonates with you. Till I see you again in my next story. Goodbye.